Original.
Hello, and welcome to Webcrawlers, the podcast where we do a deep dive into some of our favorite mysteries. Each week, we will introduce our topic, lay out our research and findings, reveal some conspiracy theories, and conclude with our own hypothesis. I am Allie Siegel.
I am Melissa Stettin.
And I, producer Maria.
Melissa, do we have any patrons today?
Yeah, we do. We have Kelly, Desiree, Richard, and Laura.
Do you remember that huge Desiree song?
You gotta
listen as your day unfolds, try to let the future holds, try to solve your problems in
That's
your
one of Lydia
own
Greengrass's
time.
favorite songs.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is?
Lydia Greengrass. Yeah, she sings it at the end of one of her episodes. She forgot the mic was on.
To turn off the recording and she sang the whole song.
Oh, that is Lydia. That's classic Lydia. She would.
Classic.
She would. I would love to do it.
It's a great song.
Oh God, I have such vivid memories of being in like 8th or 9th grade whenever that song came out in high school. Yeah, in my friend Jane's house after soccer practice in the valley, and we would listen to that song, just kind of decompress from the day. Oh, it's just a great song. Memories, man. Anyways, before we get into the episode today, I think it's important to revisit someone from episode past who's turned up in the news again. Our friend, Sherri Papini.
She's back, baby.
She's back at it. We were right about our theory. Yeah. She gone girled herself.
She fucking did this herself. We knew it. Everyone knew it. Everyone knew.
When a blonde girl disappears and comes back crazy, you're like, oh, sorry, bitch. I ain't buying it. So I guess her ex-boyfriend finally agreed to a police interview and said everything that happened. He said that he helped Papini run away. He'd known Papini since they were teenagers. I guess she contacted him out of the blue and claimed that her husband was beating and raping her and she was trying to escape, which is exactly what happened in Gone Girl when she contacted Doogie Howser.
Is that what happened?
Yes,
right.
And he took her into his big mansion and she was like, Ben Affleck's has been beating me and I need to live with you. And he was her old boyfriend and stuff. Like, this is crazy. This is the plot of Gone Girl. So he picked her up when she was on a morning jog. She lived with him for a few weeks. Apparently she would eat very little. She cut her own hair. Towards the end of the stay, she asked him to brand her with a crafting implement she purchased at Hobby Lobby.
Crazy. I guess the brand said Exodus.
Really? Is that what it said?
That's
like from the Bible verse? Bizarre.
She wanted branded in her.
The ex-boyfriend says that he didn't do any of the violence towards her, that she beat up herself, and that she made him shoot her with a BB pellet gun for bruises. Insane. And then she had him drop her back off. And then of course she made up this whole story that it was two Mexican women who stole her or so. Anyways, of course,
there's an
none of that is true.
affidavit that's 55 pages.
Yeah, read it. You read it, right? Or you read some of it?
I read all of it. It's full of great stuff. Here's some of my favorite bits from it.
Yeah.
So the day that she was quote unquote kidnapped, her husband was supposed to meet her at home for lunch, but he couldn't make it. So Sherri decided to go for a run. She recently had breast augmentation and had just been healed enough to start jogging. So she just got implants. She was training for a 5K race. And she said that she always listened to her wedding song, Michael Bublé's Everything.
Oh, God.
When she ran, because it was a good pace keeper.
That's a really good song.
What song is that?
You're a falling star, you're the getaway car, you're a line in the sand when I go too far.
I've never heard that.
You run to that.
Yeah, that sounds like a horrible workout song.
No, it's like a really good song, you guys. Like,
okay.
It's like for real good.
Sure.
And then
I'm being dead serious.
I believe you. So some people are like, well, was her husband in on it? I don't think he was, because her husband, like a year after, he would contact the FBI because Sherri would think of new things. She's like, oh, it was in a wood paneled room. So her husband would call the FBI and be like, okay, so Sherri has more details. She said she was in a room with wood paneling. There was a table in there. Like, she was keeping this whole lie going.
Also, if the husband was involved in it, like, what did they have to gain? Like, nothing. They didn't gain anything from this.
They made money from the GoFundMe. They made $49,000 that they used to pay off credit cards.
Okay.
And then this is crazy. So Sherri and her husband went to a Dick's Sporting Goods store. While they were in the gun section of the store, Sherri was fine until she saw the display of revolvers. She saw the guns and she shut down and got scared. She pointed to a black revolver and said, "That's what it looks like." So the husbands called the FBI and they told him, like, this is the type of gun that was pointed at her to lure her into the car.
Oh my God.
So she was seeing her therapist up until 2021. Because there are all these, she made $30,000 from this victims compensation fund. And so she was paying her therapist. And so there's all these payments to her therapist up until March 2021. So she was going there every week. Like, talking to her therapist.
I was her life coach.
She would have, it was you. She would have these breakthroughs in therapy where during her session with her therapist, she recalled information. She believed the burns on her arms were made with a heated up kitchen utensil, such as the back of a knife or a spoon. So she would call the FBI and be like, oh, I had a breakthrough in therapy. I remember that I was now branded with like a spoon. A burnt spoon. So she was like in therapy.
Is she like delusional, or is she just really trying to get people on board with that this was a...
It's really crazy. And then another crazy thing is that this ex-boyfriend and her shared an AOL email account.
That's pretty sick. That's serious.
Sick.
That means they're really serious. Did they have a joint Friendster?
Yes, they had a joint Friendster. It's so crazy. And she's in jail currently, and she said she doesn't like the food. She can't eat the food.
Who does? One of my favorite episodes of 60 Days In, I told you guys, is there's a woman who signs up for the project and then realizes the food in jail isn't gluten-free. And she's like so pissed. She's like, I need to go home. I didn't. It's amazing. So anyways, that's our update on Sherri Papini, and we will let you know if anything else occurs. And thank you to Melissa for reading a 50-page affidavit.
Oh, it was great. It was great.
You sent that to the chat, and I was like, I almost sent that meme back. That was like, sounds great. Like, I'm sorry, or congratulations. I'm not reading all that. Anyways,
sorry for that, or sorry.
Yeah, or congratulations. Now on to our main episode. Another fantastic wife and girl boss, Katherine Knight, in honor of Women's History Month. Katherine Knight is known as the female Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, no.
Hello, Clarice. Katherine Knight.
Fava beans.
Fava beans. She was born in October of 1955, and she is the first Australian woman to ever be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
Wow.
I know. Girl boss, breaking glass ceilings. She was convicted for the murder of her partner, John Price, in February 2000. So this was not that long ago. And she's in the Silverwater Women's Correctional Center. Listen to what she did. She stabbed Price to death, skinned him, put the skin on a meat hook, then cooked his head and parts of his body with the intention of feeding them to Price's children
What?
but was then stopped by the police.
Oh, this is crazy.
This is one of many crazy things she did. This was the end of her tour of crazy.
There's a picture in this Google Doc of some sort of food item. Is that real?
I don't know if that's the actual meat pie that she made, but she made a smorgasbord of food. It wasn't just one food item she made. God. She made a whole dinner out of his.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't even look at it. It's grossing me out. Anyways, let's get into it. I found this topic, by the way, on a YouTube video by Mr. Ballin on YouTube. If you haven't checked out his stuff, check it out. Also on YouTube, I watched an Australian documentary about her, which was really great as well, if you want to check that out. Anyways, who is Katherine Knight? Her origin story kind of makes sense as to why she became a villain. She was born into a dysfunctional family. Both her parents had alcoholism. She grew up in New South Wales, Australia. Her community... Down under. I'm saving everyone by not doing this whole episode in an Australian accent. The community hated her family, and her family hated each other. So she really had no home base. She was ostracized by both her community and her immediate family. Her mother, this woman named Barbara, had been married to a man named Jack, and they lived together in a small town called Aberdeen, which I feel like we had another episode that took place in Aberdeen, or maybe...
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Aberdeen. Barbara and Jack had 4 sons, but then Barbara began an adulterous relationship with a man named Ken Knight, who was a co-worker of her husband's. Now, Aberdeen is a very small town where everyone knows each other's business. So this affair caused a huge scandal, and they were known as like the bad, fucked up family in town.
The sluts of Aberdeen.
The sluts of Aberdeen, exactly. It's like Bridgerton, but the sluts of Aberdeen. Yeah. So Barbara left her husband for Ken, and they had more children, including twin daughters, Katherine and her sister. So yes, Katherine is a twin.
Well, that explains it. There you go.
Katherine's father, Ken, was a violent alcoholic and would allegedly rape her mother up to 10 times a day. And Barbara would tell her daughters all about the rapes. She would, like, after the dad would rape her, like, the mom would come into their room and just tell the daughters what happened. Tell the daughters how much she hated men and how all men were evil and that women were just put on this earth for sex. Katherine's mother apparently told Katherine that if she was ever raped or forced to do a sexual act she wasn't interested in, that Katherine should just put up with it and stopped complaining.
Oh, that's not a good thing to tell your daughter.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
As you can see, real toxic environment from the get. Also, according to Katherine, she was molested by family members for much of her upbringing, although she says she was not molested by her father, but by other family members. Here's a spooky side note, which is not a big part of the story, but Katherine's uncle, who was the only person she was truly close to other than her sister, allegedly, he committed suicide, and Katherine says that his ghost would visit her frequently.
Oh.
Yes, so she had a ghost friend. Uh-oh. In high school, Katherine once assaulted a boy with a weapon. She also once assaulted a teacher, and the teacher ended up apparently like injuring Katherine in self-defense.
Oh, God.
So she obviously had a lot of rage problems.
Yeah, bad start.
Yeah, bad start. Her teachers and classmates said that when she was normal, she was very normal and like kind and sweet, but then she would like switch on a dime and try to stab someone. You know, she didn't have any coping skills or mechanisms. Yeah. She left school at 15. She was unable to read, unable to write, and she got her dream job as a butcher.
Oh, her dream job.
What young girl doesn't grow up fantasizing about becoming a butcher?
Yikes. Red flag.
Red flag alert. She was given her own set of butcher's knives as well, and she hung them above her bed in every place she lived in case, quote unquote, she needed them.
Oh, her life is set up for this.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to include this in the doc, but I just remembered it from the documentary. One of her kids, who is being interviewed as an adult now in this news interview, said that this is horrible. Animal stuff affects me even more than human stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Said that when Katherine was driving, and if there was an animal in the street, like a dog in the street, that she would veer towards the animal or the dog to try to run it over.
That's a bad. When kids are like weird to animals, like isn't that like the first sign
that's a serial killer sign. Yeah. So she did a lot of weird stuff, and apparently people who worked with her at the butcher place. It wasn't a butcher shop. It was, they call it an abattoir.
Abattoir.
It's she wrote Avatar. It's the whole process of butchering. So they would like slaughter the cows and cut down the meat. Farm to table. But everyone said that she relished in hearing the animals die.
No.
And she was so into the butchering that it freaked other people out too.
Oh.
And apparently she liked that. She would get off on
that.
That
ain't right.
That ain't right. Something ain't right with Katherine. Anyways, Katherine finds a husband. Because of course she does and I don't. Her first husband is this guy named David Kellett. David is her coworker at the meat killing factory. They meet in 1973. Kellett, this guy David, he's a really heavy drinker. He has 2 traumatic drinking accidents in his past. One is from a previous railway job in Coffs Harbor. His best friend was killed in front of him in a shunting accident.
Oh, God.
And then later, he rescued injured occupants of a school bus, which had been struck by a train, killing 6 children.
Wow.
He was in charge of the train.
Oh.
And the train hit the bus of kids. Yeah, so things were going bad. And then he ended up in this butcher shop and met Katherine, and they got married. This is what Katherine's mother, Barbara, told David on their wedding night. David reports, "The old girl, Knight's mother, said to me to watch out. You better watch this one or she'll fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing and you're fucked. Don't ever think of playing up on her, cheating on her, or she'll kill you." And that was her mother talking. Oh. She told me she's got something loose. She's got a screw loose somewhere.
Imagine like getting married and the mom's like, be careful, he's going to kill you.
Yeah, seriously. So on their wedding night, Katherine did try to strangle David to death because...
What?
Because he fell asleep during sex.
I mean,
yeah,
I get it.
Who among us has not been so horny that we try to kill our partner, which was a great start to their marriage. And their whole relationship was violent, with Katherine being the domestic abuser. Let's take a quick break for announcements. Webcrawlers has a Patreon to get access to rewards, bonus episodes, video episodes a day early where you can see me right now in a full face of pimple medicine. Please go to patreon.com/webcrawlers. You can donate as little as $2 a month to become a patron. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you give us a 5-star review, we will shout you out and read your review. Also, Erios has a hotline. Insert jingle here. 626-604-6262.
Erios.
Please continue to call. And remember, whoever leaves the longest voicemail will get to live with Maria for an entire year.
Nope. False.
Also,
False.
Sorry, don't listen to her. And then also, please don't forget to shop our shop, webcrawlerspod.com or hothorse.horse. If you're nasty, we have tons of great merch that you can start wearing as the weather heats up. Some great shirts. Maybe you can buy yourself a shirt or a hat. A hat for when the sun is blazing down on you as the weather starts to heat up again. Now, back to our program. In one incident, a heavily pregnant Katherine burned all of David's clothing and shoes, and then she hit him on the back of the head with a frying pan because he arrived home late from the bar from a darts competition.
Well,
he had it coming. And
Darts.
David had a severely fractured skull. This was before she even was incarcerated. This is
Right.
just her track record.
Jesus.
So, Melissa, what year were you born?
84?
Okay, you're safe. So they had a child named Melissa. And
Oh, no.
soon after her birth, David left Katherine because he feared for his life. Katherine kept beating him up. But in an asshole move, he left the baby Melissa with Katherine. So
Cool.
I would have taken the baby, but he left her
Yeah.
with Katherine. So the next day, Katherine was seen pushing baby Melissa in a baby carriage down Main Street, violently throwing the carriage from side to side.
What?
So just rocking the baby carriage all over the place with the baby flailing inside.
Oh, God.
She was admitted to the hospital and diagnosed with postpartum depression. And she spent several weeks, I guess, in the hospital recovering. But
Jeez.
after she was released, Katherine placed her 2-month-old baby Melissa on the railway line while a train was supposed to be due.
Oh, my
Then-
God.
Then she took an axe and threatened to kill everyone in town. Then some guy in town who they call Old Ted was near the railway line and found the baby and rescued her right before the train came.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
insane.
Yes. And this isn't even the craziest thing she's done.
Oh.
She was institutionalized again, but then she signed herself out the next day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. Then I guess this part confused me in the doc, so I'm not really sure what happened, but apparently she slashed a guy's face and held him hostage and made him drive her to go find David to get him back. And then,
Okay.
so I think she got in this person's car and held a knife up to him and said take me to this address. I need to find my ex-husband, and slash the guy in the face. And so he's like, okay, I'll drive you. Anyways, she got to David's place and he took her back for some reason, somehow.
Oh, no.
Throughout this documentary, they talk about how she was great in bed. And so apparently that was what the power
There
she
you
had over
go.
these men. She was great in the sack. David took her back and they had another child together.
Oh, God.
I know. But then she eventually left him. I don't know. She had a string of other relationships and other boyfriends. One of her other boyfriends she stabbed in the stomach with scissors.
Ugh.
So she does this to all of her flames. Also, her house was decorated with animal skins, skulls, horns, animal traps, leather jackets, old boots, machetes, rakes, and pitchforks, floor to ceiling.
It's like Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. Yeah,
Ed
Ed Gein.
Gein.
Oh,
Ed
right.
Gein.
I forgot we got hate mail
Ed
about that. Ed
Gein.
Gein. Ed Gein. Yes. Then, unfortunately for John, she meets John Price, the man who will eventually land her in jail, I guess, thank God.
Oh.
She meets John. He seems like a good guy. He's recently divorced. He has 3 daughters. He seems kind and funny. He accepts Katherine for who she is. He thinks her temper is charming, and they move in together. But eventually, as these things happen, John and Katherine get in a physical altercation one night. Katherine grabs a knife and she slashes John. And John's like, "No, I'm not doing this with you. Like, I'm not being in this kind of relationship. Like, we need to break up." And so on his way to work the next day, he actually stops at the court and he tries to take out a restraining order on Katherine to keep her away from him and his children. And then that day at work, he says to his coworkers, like, "If I ever don't show up to work, it's because Katherine killed me. She's crazy." Foreshadowing much?
Oh, no.
So at this point, John has moved out. He's gotten his own place. They broke up after this knife altercation. And Katherine hates being alone. She misses John. Like, a few weeks have gone by. This is someone who doesn't know how to be alone. She's constantly looking for love and then self-sabotaging it and freaking out. She wants to patch up the relationship. So on February 29th, Katherine shows up at John's place. His kids are there. She calls a babysitter for the kids. The kids are picked up and taken away for the night. Then Katherine leaves to go to her house to get some lingerie and some other kinky stuff in an attempt to win John back. And she leaves a note for John being like, "BRB, coming back with a nice gift for you. Love, Katherine." John comes home. He finds his kids are gone, which is weird. He's confused, but then he sees the note and he's like, "Oh God, Katherine's up to her old bullshit." He grabs a beer, sits by the door, and is like, "I'll wait for her to come back and I'll chew her out."
Uh-oh.
Lo and behold, John does not show up for work the next day.
Oh, no.
And John is always the first one at work. He's apparently very responsible, and he had given his friends that weird warning. So the office sends a worker to his house to go see what's going on. His car's in the driveway, so they're like, "Oh, John must have slept in or something. Let's wake him up." The worker looks around the house, and he looks through the front window, and he notices what he thinks is blood on the front doorstep.
Oh, no.
He knocks. No one answers the door. So then he goes around the house. He starts banging on all the windows. No one is answering. So he goes back to work and he tells the boss, like, "Hey, I think we need to call the cops. I think something weird is happening at John's house." The cops show up. They go to John's. They try to go through the backyard and they see a plate of food in the backyard. Like, someone had thrown a plate of food out the window inside. And they're like,
"Oh, no, you don't waste food like that.
You don't waste
Something's
food like
wrong."
that." And they're like, "That's weird. Did someone get in a fight during dinner and like throw the plate of food outside? What's going on?" They're a little confused. So they break in through the back door and they go inside the house and they see this curtain. And they pull the curtain aside and they're like, "What's going on here?" They see Katherine Knight passed out on the floor. And then the guy looks at his hand who pulled the curtain and he's like, "Oh my God, why is my hand so bloody?"
Oh, God.
It was not a curtain that he pulled aside. It was the skinned body of John hanging up in front of a door in the kitchen.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God, it sounds like an urban legend.
I know. And
Turns
the
out
snake
it
was
wasn't-
measuring you.
It was the guy who escaped the mental hospital licking your hand, not the dog.
Yeah. So they end up resuscitating Katherine. So what happened
she
is
was
like
unconscious.
she had tried. Yeah, so she was unconscious. She had tried to kill herself unsuccessfully. So this is what had happened.
Oh.
Katherine eventually came back to the house. John was there drinking his beer. John's like, what the fuck? Katherine's there in her lingerie. They end up having sex. They go to bed. In the middle of the night, Katherine wakes up. She's furious. She remembers why she's there in the first place. She's super angry that he had broken up with her and left her. She stabs him 36 times all over his body.
Oh my God.
She leaves him in the bed to bleed to death. And as he is bleeding out, she goes to the kitchen and puts out a pot of water and starts letting it boil.
Oh no.
Then she sets the table.
What?
For a dinner for herself and for John's kids. Not only does she set the table, but she also puts nameplates, like little placards in front of all
What?
the places being, like Abby sits here, like Darla sits here.
Melissa sits here.
Melissa sits here, like really setting the table. After she sets the table, Katherine dragged John's body to the kitchen and skinned him from head to toe in one piece. Because as you remember, she worked at the butcher factory place, and that was her dream job, and she loved doing it. So this was her biggest skill, was butchering things.
Oh, God.
She skinned him and hung up the skin, which the cops later thought was a curtain.
Oh, my God.
She beheads him and puts his head in a pot.
No.
Serving up the meat with baked potato, pumpkin, beetroot, zucchini, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Now things are looking up. All right, Top Chef. You go, girl. She also made several different entrees out of John's body.
Oh.
Yeah. Katherine apparently looked around and saw what she had done. She freaked out and decided that instead of going to jail for this, because she knew ultimately she was going to get caught, that she wanted to kill herself. So she went to the bathroom. She took a bunch of sleeping pills. She overdosed on the sleeping pills and collapsed.
And this was before, because the kids were supposed to come home in the morning, but
yeah, the kids were supposed to come home. Yeah. So then when the cops came in, they saw Katherine there collapsed, and they resuscitated her. So she was going to have to be culpable for all of these crimes.
Wow.
And she became the first woman ever in Australian history to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow.
Now for the trial. That psycho pled not guilty.
Good luck.
Yeah. Granted, there's no question given her track record and her prints are everywhere. I mean, she done it. When the trial commenced, apparently Justice Barry O'Keefe offered the 60 jury prospects the option of being excused due to the nature of the photographic evidence. 5 accepted. 5 said, yeah, I can't do this. When the witness list was read out to the prospects, several more also dropped out, after which the jury was empaneled?
Empaneled?
You shut up, Melissa.
Does that mean it was like unstated? Empaneled?
I put the wrong emphasis in the wrong syllable.
Uh-oh, no. That was put to bed.
From Austin Powers.
Yeah, The next morning, apparently, Knight changed her plea to guilty. The jury was dismissed because they were going to have a hard time finding a jury, period, who wanted to do this case. And however, Katherine still did not take any responsibility for her actions. She was like, I'm pleading guilty, but this is all your guys' fault anyways.
Cool.
She was sentenced to life in prison, and her papers were to be marked never to be released, which is the first time this has ever been imposed. And she is still in prison today.
She's still alive?
She's only 66 years old now.
Oh, yeah. I guess this happened in... Wow.
Yeah, so she She's currently at Clarence Correctional Center.
Crazy.
Yeah, 66 years old. She's still there if anyone wants to write her or... And then apparently there's a documentary about her called Beyond Bad.
Oh, like
that might be
meat.
Yes. That I wonder if that's actually what I watched this morning. But anyways, that is the story of Cannibal Knight. Katherine Cannibal Knight, the female Hannibal Lecter.
That's crazy.
Yeah, totally. We love a cannibal story. Maria said in the past that she craves human meat, so I thought that'd be a good...
No, I didn't. I said it would be. It might be interesting, but I've taken it back because I would never.
You did take it back.
I can't do it. I don't think I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
If you guys have any thoughts or theories about this case, if you guys are from Australia, if you remember this case happening or anything like that, Melissa, where can people reach us?
You can email us at webcrawlerspod@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I am Allie Siegel.
I am Melissa Stetton.
And I, producer Maria.
Bye.
Bye.
An Erios original.
Powered by Acast.